didn't appreciate him flouting the COVID laws. They recorded on him, maybe even called the police, and he
Okay.
wound up in
Don't
trouble.
go into too much detail. We're going live, so go to the next story.
Okay.
All the stories are Trump is an idiot. All the story. That's all the stories in Nathan's list. You know, Nathan.
The other one is basically about
see it
Trump's
that way.
bipartisan affordable housing plan, saying he wasn't going to sign it until they passed that SAVE Act, that voting act. And it was actually a really good bipartisan affordable housing bill, which would have, increased housing supply, but also limited institutional investors from buying up like a lot of single family.
Mm.
Would have addressed, a lot of problems that they talk about here in Cincinnati, and it was bipartisan. So it was Republican. Republicans was planning on running on this just as much as the Democrats, but Trump said if you don't pass his voting
Okay.
bill, he's not going to sign it.
Okay.
And
the next one.
Let's see. The other one was the temporary protection status on the Haitians and Syrians being revoked by the Supreme Court, or saying Trump could revoke it. That Supreme Court ruling yesterday that said Trump could go ahead with deportations and ending their protected status.
Okay.
So that goes all the way back to the Haitians eating dogs and cats in Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the video Nathan had attached to that was Megyn Kelly going off talking about get out, we don't want you, don't care if you offended, y'all driving drunk up there, killing people, you don't want to live like Americans, typical red meat that you would expect to come from that side. And then I think Trump also lost. I think another story that Nathan had was where a judge decided that Trump could not utilize the postal service to try to block. He was trying to get the postal service to not, I can't remember whether it was not deliver mail or not accept mail or something like that as it pertained to mail-in ballots and voting. And some even speculate he was trying to use the UPS or the postal service to slow down delivery of the mail so that some ballots might intentionally not arrive on time. And basically I think a judge basically said he can't do that, he can't try to utilize the postal service to do anything with elections. So I don't know if we'll get into any others beyond those. Nathan, you can speak to that. You know what you plan on serving up.
The Megyn Kelly video, was that recent? That was she went off on it again, or was it old?
I think it's probably new because I think it was based on, like I said, the Supreme Court decision was just yesterday. So.
Okay. Megyn. What's going on locally, Brother Aldrich?
So a lot of people talking about, at least on my end, city budget. What came out of that. Still got some people upset about that $2 million going to the farmer center.
Okay. I haven't even heard about that yet.
Yeah.
I keep seeing I live in Price Hill. Trying to get Price Hill together is a bear. What's up with it?
Hi.
Hey. Hey, what's going on?
I'm going to be on here today.
Mm-hmm.
Lynn, how are you, Mr.
I slept my way in.
How you doing, Rosemary? Good to see you.
I'm good. Hi, Miss Cole.
Hi, Rosemary. How are you?
I'm good. I just got off the phone with my sister, and so
okay,
literally right before we jumped on.
It's such a small world. Like when you know people differently from the political world. It's so small.
Yeah, most of the time people like,
It's,
"Is this your sister?" I'm like, yeah, that's my biological. You wouldn't know it though. Like,
no, actually, once you said it, I see it. No,
oh,
you and your sister, once y'all said it, I see it. It's in
uh,
the eyes. I see the eyes.
oh yeah, my sister cool though. She
Oh yes, but it's just funny that people never know who you know and who touches who when they mess with other people. So it's just love
yeah,
it.
yeah. So she speaks very highly of you, has for years. So
Like people don't know like Kevin. Like people don't know the other. People only know the political side or the editorial side and the pastor side of Kevin. They don't know the side that I know. I know Kevin undergrad Kevin.
Uh-oh. I want to hear
from
more about this.
barbershop. Oh, hi, Terrace. Yes, Tara Beaver is my favorite. You the person she was talking about. Okay, got it. Oh, I'm reading in comments.
What school did you guys go to? He called you classmate.
Who?
The classmates.
I don't want to.
Who? Somebody
We went
called
to
me
it.
classmate.
Yeah,
No.
so Lakita and I
Kevin
went to
and
Wittenberg in
Oh,
Springfield.
Yes,
Wittenberg. Okay.
in Springfield, Ohio, where they was eating cats and dogs.
Right. We was but Lakita, we
Yeah.
was there before the Haitians, right? That
Oh, right.
they wasn't that strong in Springfield while we was there, I don't think.
Right. It was
so
only
were they
what
eating
we only
them?
had 106. No, that's a fake. He don't know no better. It's only 106 when I it was only 106 blacks when I entered my entering class there.
Yep.
No, I went to
That was
Central. We used to go to
definitely an
Clemson
eye
too.
opener. Did y'all? It was definitely an eye opener for me coming from Aiken High School, which is not a black school.
Yeah,
We used to go up there every now and then.
we were introduction to a lot of those white students at Wittenberg who had
Yes,
never had much interaction with black people before. That was
You talking about?
crazy.
Hold it. You talking about guys like me?
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
There we go.
yeah.
Resent that remark.
Well, you put your shoe on. I just laced it for you because we were not even really talking about you. But since you put your shoe
You
on,
know,
I laced it.
that's the second time you've used that expression, Lakita, and I have to say it's kind of a good one. I think I'm going to start using it,
Dude,
but
I
not
like
give
that.
you any credit for it. I like that. This laced it. That's catchy. I like that. I like your yellow nail too. I think I may try that. I like that look, you know.
Yeah, just my summer nails.
Thank you. We'll get started here in a second.
Mhm.
All right, guys, I'm gonna put everybody backstage and we'll get started. And we are back. There we are. I think we're all here. Who we missing? We're missing Rosemary. There she is. And Lakita. I think Lakita, she might have dropped. So hopefully she'll give us a ring right back. Let me take this box off real quick. Boom, we back. Hello, everybody. What's up, chat? Everybody's doing well. Happy Friday to you. Let me bring Lakita in. There she is. Hey, Lakita, she's back. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Lakita? Not sure. Okay, everybody else can hear me though, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello. All right. There it is. Hopefully your connection will connect with us. We got somebody new on the crew, and this person was running for local elected office, and I'm glad she's with us. Rosemary, how are you? Welcome to Hot Mic.
I'm good. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. And we got Damon Lynch, two of Greg Landsman's favorite people on the same pod.
I don't know if you know or if anybody else knew, me and Rose are the only two black people to ever run for the seat, ever, in the history of running for the seat.
Is that right?
Yes.
The only
that's
two
dope.
black people to ever even try.
Yes.
That's crazy. That's crazy when you think about it.
It is. Why do you think that is, Damon? Is it the makeup of the first district, or what do you think that is?
I don't know. I guess people
Not sure.
didn't believe they could. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's also like I think I was like the first woman in like 200 years or something, and then what's her name, Holly Adams jumped in. So there hasn't been very much diversity, especially within the Republican Party, to even want to run for that seat. And it might have something to do with what's his name? He was in that seat for the longest time.
Steve Shabbat.
Shabbat.
Yeah.
He was in
Phil's
that
best
seat
friend.
for, yeah, he was in that seat for a really, really long time. But yeah, and once he lost that seat, whether he was tired or whatever, it's just a unique opportunity for different people to be able to step up. And I'm glad to be able to run alongside or against Dame in the primary to show people they have no fear. If you want to do it, just do it.
I love it. Speaking of Republicans and Steve Shabbat, Phil Heimlich, how are you, sir?
What do you mean, speaking of? Is that my only identity?
Pretty much.
You know, there's more to Phil Heimlich than just my party affiliation.
Oh, we know that you're a top flight martial art artist as well.
Right. Yeah, sure. Just remember what your wife said, okay?
My wife got on me. She was like, I don't like it.
If you keep making fun of me, you're going to be sleeping on the couch for a while. Just don't forget
She's not going to take it that far, but she wasn't happy. She was like, don't mess with Phil. I'm like, what you mean? Mess with Phil?
I want to say this. She's a proud member of the Phil Heimlich fan club. Actually, she's the only member, but nonetheless, I appreciate her support.
Your children aren't even members of that club, so yeah, give her due. And of course, Kevin Aldridge, how you doing, sir?
Doing very good. Good to see the testosterone level on Hot Mic lower just a little bit. I'm always happy about that. I'm always happy whenever we can do that.
Yes. Terrace writes, Rosemary, I was hoping to be on with you. Our good friend Tara Beavers just left my shop. She said hello. All right, cool.
Yes,
Love it. Like I said, we want diversity of opinion. And of course, Lakita Cole, always good to see you. Thank you for your time.
Hello.
Today. Let's get straight into it. There's a lot of topics. I'm hoping to get to everything. It's a Friday.
I didn't get the introduction like everyone else. Oh, of course, Lakita Cole. I want the lively introduction too.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to downplay it at all, but we have Lakita Cole.
See, that's kind of chauvinistic, Nathan. You
bit,
introduce
so
the men,
sorry.
you don't introduce her. I mean, this is what our society's come to.
It would see, there you go.
So his credit, it's not his fault. My internet was glitching. Well, I was getting a phone call at the same time when he was doing the introduction. When he was doing the introductions.
It's his fault.
It's my fault. Okay.
Hey, let me just say this: that based on some of the comments in the chat, Lakita Cole put the hot in Hot Mic. We might have to change this to Hot Mic Cincy singles. I mean, she get a lot of brothers shoot they shot in the chat. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I mean, hey, it is what it is. Pat writes, good afternoon, nephew and crew. Hey, what's up, Pat? How are you? Good to see everybody. Marquetta's here. That's right. You better treat him right, Phil. Treat Kevin right. Ross writes, just like the white man stealing our stuff without giving credit. He's talking about you, Phil.
What stuff they saying I stole?
You said you think you were going to steal something from Lakita or Rosemary?
Yeah. From me. When he said that the LASIK comment and not giving you no credit.
The lace. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Gee whiz. Well, so you guys are so territorial. You know that?
You're right, territorial, right? You want to keep our own ideas, right? I mean, so selfish, right? She's being selfish. Oh my God, these guys, man. What's up, Tony? Just saying hello to the chat. Appreciate you. If you have a second or you care to do it, please take a second and share this. When you share it on Facebook, it goes much further than if we just do it ourselves. So really appreciate you. Terry,
and that also includes the guests too. To get us that are on, please make sure we like and share as well every time.
Well, thank you. Absolutely. Drop Squad. Okay, got another Black Republican in the house. There it is. Drops in the house. So Pamela writes, good afternoon, Nathan and crew, checking in from North Avondale. Okay.
Hey.
T Mikey C writes, thank goodness this is not on BooTube. Yeah, we're on Facebook. Yeah, we're gonna stay on Facebook for sure. Absolutely. All right, let's get into this first topic. I mean, we're gonna come with something that may not be on your radar screen, but hopefully can make for a provocative conversation. Has anybody been paying attention to this pastor that got into a physical altercation? I'm gonna play some video for you. It's going to be a video where the pastor is sort of like having a press conference, and then you'll see the altercation. And then after that, I'm going to play a video of the pastor in church justifying it. So just give me a second here so I can screen share this. I thought this was so, well, I'll reserve my opinion about it until we actually get into it. Let me see if I can make sure we pull it up here. Just give me 1 second. There it is. There it is. Okay, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. This takes a minute. All right, here it is. Check this out. And I mean, don't we hold pastors to what in the world is going on? Don't we hold pastors to a higher standard?
Not white ones.
What's going on here? But I'm gonna play it for you. I mean, I'm giving you a little bit of my thoughts on it. I'm gonna play it for you, and you give me your thoughts.
Well, I think in terms of we're going to show both sides of this, I think our resident pastor, who I think has got into similar altercations, I think needs to, kind of comment on this. But
absolutely, I'm hoping he does.
Yeah.
But check this out.
When you threaten to rape my wife, when you threaten to rape my grandchildren, and the next time you leave, go out of town, I'm going to kill every one of them. As a man, as a father, and as a pastor, I can't allow that.
What?
when you threatened to rape my wife,
So that's the
when you
gist of it.
threatened to rape my grandchildren,
Bring this up, and just want to show a quick video of it real quick. There it is. Sorry about that. So apparently this has been an ongoing sort of neighborhood dispute, and it culminated in that physical confrontation where you can see the pastor walking over to the individual. A lot of people are saying he takes a shot at him first, but I'm like, man, you can't walk up with people with evil intent in your eyes and expect for them to just allow you to hit them in the face. Afterward, and I'll play it in a segment. Afterward, he went to his church, like pulpit, and he justified it. He said, basically, you know, God sent me to lay hands on the sick. And that's what he did. That's what he had a big laugh about it in the church.
Is that what he said?
That's exactly what he said. And, you know, I'm like, this is unbecoming of a pastor. There's 2 or 3 different ways he could have handled that other than that. But am I wrong? What do you think? Is a pastor this is not pastor-like, right?
I have 2 comments, but I want to hear from Kevin first, and then I have some comments.
I mean, you know, here's the thing that I always say. Yes, are pastors held to a higher standard? Absolutely. Do we have to be aware of how our words and our conduct reflect on how other people see God and that sort of thing? Absolutely. Are we supposed to subscribe to biblical scripture that talks about being peacemakers and all of that? Absolutely. But the thing that I also say is that the thing that sometimes gets lost, whether you're a pastor or whether you're somebody who claims to be a saved Christian or whatever, we are all still sinners saved by grace. We're all men and women, and we're all subjected to the same temptations, emotional reactions, and things of that nature as everybody else. And sometimes it gets the best of you, right? Nobody is perfect. There's no pastor out there. If you got a pastor that's out there that's presenting themselves as perfect and that they've never sinned, that they've never said anything wrong, thought anything wrong, done anything wrong, you get away from that person as quickly as you can because they're not being truthful. We're all human, right? But that doesn't mean that you don't have that calling to try to live above that. So to Nathan's point, were there better ways or alternatives in which this could have been handled? Certainly. I'm never going to sit here and say to anybody, pastor or the like, that if somebody is threatening you or your family and you feel like you're in imminent danger, that you would not be in a position to defend yourself. Now, whether that was true of this pastor in this case, that's debatable in terms of what, you know, how seriously he was taking the threats that he claimed that the guy made. Again, from what I read, this is a dispute that goes back to 2020, and there's a lot of things involved in this, and it seems like this family that lives next door to the church has been going at this pastor and his wife for quite some time. A lot of it is political. A lot of it has to do with the church continuing to be open during COVID and how these neighbors turned them in and responded to it. So it's a beef that's going back several years, and it looks like this is one of those cases where it kind of boiled over. Like, hey, we've been wrestling with these neighbors, going back and forth, having words back and forth. You done threatened my wife. You done got in the car, followed her, all of this stuff. And this was finally just one of those situations where the pastor has said, you know, hey, I had enough. I'm going to confront you. When he rode up on dude swung on him, and that was it. So it's definitely going to hurt his image, I think, among some people. I think it's definitely going to hurt, in some people's eyes, the image of the church and pastors and religion in general, because some people are going to look at that and say, see, this is why I don't fool with organized religion. This is why pastors are this, that, and the other. And so that's why I say we have to be careful in terms of how we act, how we speak, and how we present, because it's not just about how it's going to impact us or our particular congregation, but maybe even how some people in general view church and the sincerity and legitimacy of those of us who say we practice it.
Why does Kevin always cape for the pastors?
Hey, Darren.
Why are you caping for this minister, man? Why is you caping for him?
Who's got a dog? Somebody's got a dog barking in the background. I'm not sure how you silence your dog, but maybe shut the door.
It might be Phil.
No, it is not me. Forrest is not here.
Forrest is not here. Oh, okay, I'm not sure.
Don't try to pin this on me. Okay, don't try that.
Not to change the subject, but I mean, not to. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to change it because of the dog barking. But I think these comments I'm laughing about is crazy. And I agree. One of the comments said, he said, "Try Jesus, not me." I agree with Kevin. I think what the thing is some people forget that pastors and elected officials and stuff like that put their pants on one leg at a time, just like everyone else. And yes, they try to be above it, but at the end of the day, how much can a person take?
Do that, but all right, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, how much can a person take? I mean, you followed his wife, you threatened him, you talking about raping, killing him, and all that. And yes, he walked up on him, Nate, but you don't know if he walked up on him to have a conversation, to talk to him. You don't know what it was, and he got sworn going. And at that point, it's a pot boiling. Like you said, it happened. Kevin said it happened. It's been ongoing happening. So the pot was boiling. So when you swung, it bubbled over. And I don't condone it, but I also certainly understand. But I feel like some people try certain people just because they know they're not going to do anything and they're going to walk away. But not everyone's going to always walk away. You may catch that person on the wrong day because you don't know what everyone. Just because I'm a person's a pastor, an elected official, or whatever, they all are going through life things as well. Life is lifing for them just like everyone else. And so they have to be careful of who they're dealing with and when they're dealing with them. And don't expect that they're always going to turn the other cheek, because sometimes that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Rosemary, what do you think? I mean, you agree with me? This pastor is dead wrong. Dead wrong.
Yeah. Well, most people probably would have preferred that it not be on social media, so for everybody to see. But he's flesh, and while pastors are supposed to have self-control, this incident happened, and I'm sure he's not like proud of himself as a representative of the cloth, but at the same time, you got to protect your sheep, and he's protecting his family, and so he got to repent, and and maybe, like I said, you don't know how many times that he's turned a cheek. You don't know how many times, or even where that incident took place. Was it in that person's yard? Was it in the protection of his family? And certain threats, you have to take seriously. And so, then there's always a way to respond to that. So he was pretty transparent with coming forth and saying, look, I'm a person and I stand on the consequences that come after that. And so I respect him for at least standing on those consequences and standing on those grounds.
I do. I appreciate him. Sometimes the issues like that, you got to hit it straightforward. And I don't feel like he was dead wrong. I mean, first of all, he turned, his wife is probably in his ear, and man, this man is following me. He done followed his wife. Not only after you followed him, then you threaten him. You threaten him, his grandkids. Then you're gonna kill him. I mean, like, come on now. Especially a threat of rape against a woman. That is uncalled for. If I was his wife, I don't care what cloth you got on. I'm expecting you to protect me and make me feel protected. This turning the other cheek doesn't always work, especially when he's already done followed me and now he's threatening to rape me. So now every time you leave, I got to be worried about if I go outside to plant my flowers or whatever I'm doing in my yard. I got to be worried if this man's going to follow me, run up on me. I got to be worried about that. But I guess now, since that pastor stood up, I'm sure he's going to think twice about it. And so I think you have to think about that. It's also that man. It's not just a man of cloth, but it's just also his duty to protect his family.
And I think I can't remember who said it, whether it was Rosemary or Lakita, but there are some people who will try you because they think that you're not going to respond. Yeah. Whether you're a pastor or I say this in instances. I think we were talking about this about the lady that got attacked at the Hortons. It's like, in these days and times, you got to be careful who you are picking fights with, because you just don't know how people are going to react. And if you're looking for smoke, sometimes you're going to catch the smoke. And if you don't want no smoke, particularly if you can't fight and you ain't ready for that kind of thing, then go sit your butt down somewhere, because you might get what you're looking for, even when you least expect it. So again, I would have said, again, looking at it, one can always say, is there a better way the pastor could have handled it? I'm sure there probably is. Could he have walked away? I'm sure he probably could have. But my major point is, and this is the point that I always get across, and it's not necessarily trying to cape for pastors or anything like that, but it's trying to get people to understand pastors are not Jesus. That's the main thing, that you keep your attention, your focus on Jesus. Quit focusing on your pastor and whoever that person is that's standing up in the pulpit, because they're simply called by God. They simply have a calling on their life to deliver the word. They are not Jesus. In many cases, a lot of pastors are just as flawed as the people that they're preaching to on Sunday. But we have this delusional idea that somehow or another that pastors are perfect and that they get it right 100% of the time with people, and that's just not the case.
That's not it. I don't think it's delusional to think that a Christian pastor should be trying to be Christ-like.
Everybody tries to be, Nathan. Everybody tries to be Christ-like. Nobody is. Are you Christ-like all the time?
I'm not a pastor.
It don't matter.
It does matter.
If you call yourself a child of God and saved, this is another thing that aggravates me about people, because you got people who will come to church and they'll be like, this is the thing that congregants of churches use. You come to church every Sunday and call yourself saved, yet you hold the pastor to a higher standard than you.
Deflecting from the pastor. Deflect. All I hear from you, Kevin, is deflection. I'm
not deflecting.
At every turn you try to deflect from this grown man.
You can call truth deflection if you want. You're deflecting. You're deflecting from the unchristian-like behaviors of this grown man who was way bigger than that kid. He wouldn't walk up to me like that. He ain't gonna walk up to no 6 foot.
That was not a kid. That was not a kid. That was a grown man. That was not a kid.
He was smaller than him. It
doesn't matter. It don't matter. It does not. If you keep threatening someone and their family, that does not matter. That Hitler was small too. Look, Hitler was tiny too, and look what he did. So it doesn't matter. The size doesn't matter.
He didn't do it with his hands.
It doesn't matter. You want to act like a big boy, you get knocked down like a big boy.
A good wife in that situation, let's say you're like the wife of the pastor, you've been dealing with all this. A good wife is not going to tell her husband to go out there and come into a one-on-one physical confrontation with another man. A good wife.
I don't think that. No, I don't think that's what what happened. And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is go have a conversation with this man and protect me. But at the same time, he swung on him. How many times he's going to keep turning the cheek? Like, you followed this person. You don't know what he walked. He didn't walk up on him to punch him. He may have walked up on him to have a conversation. To say, "Hey, we taking it too far." He could have walked up on him and said, "We taking it too far. Look, you done threaten my kids. You done threaten my wife. You done follow them. We need to chill on this. What do you want?" He could have walked up on him to have a conversation to try to smooth things over. So we don't know what his intentions were, because you just said he's a man of cloth. So man, he could have walked up to him. So like, you know what? Let's get this under. Let's figure this out. Let's talk this out. Let's pray about it. You don't know what he walked up to him to talk about, because he never got a chance to talk.
You can't walk up on no man like that.
Why not?
A reaction? Because
then the same thing.
Is he a man or a kid, Nathan? Make up your mind.
You can't.
A man, so I'm just correcting myself. That's all.
Okay, so again, you cannot threaten no man's family continually. You cannot, you cannot continually threaten a man's family. You cannot continually threaten a man's follow a man's wife. You cannot continually do the things you're doing and not expect some type of reaction. You keep thinking he was gonna turn the other cheek, and that's not gonna happen. You only got 2 cheeks. How many times you gonna turn it? Like, come on now. At some point, you think because he's bigger than him, and man. You don't know if he did that.
But if this has been long term,
call the police and go back in your house. That's
but
all
if
you
it's been for a long time coming, calling the police doesn't always work, because you have to have some evidence and proof. And
I'm sure he called the police. It's been going on for a long time.
Right.
But
they filed 2 previous complaints with the police, and the police had in fact told these neighbors that they were supposed to stay away from, particularly his wife.
Exactly.
To stay away from his wife.
On him. The police told him, stay away, and you come walking up with your shoulder, man, you're gonna get black. You're gonna get 4 or 5 pieces. Nobody's gonna let you walk up on them like that and get close.
Well, I feel like, and no man's gonna let you continue threaten their family and his wife, talking about raping them after you done followed her around. Come on now,
I have more evidence. Check this video out. He thinks it's funny. The pastor, he thinks it's funny. This is the pastor making jokes after the incident when he went back to his church. Check this out. You gotta see this. You ain't gonna believe this. It's like he. It's a funny thing to him. He thinks it's funny. Check this out.
In my name, they shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. So today, Brother Merritt, and all of you, I fulfilled the scripture. I laid hands on the sick. I don't know how much recovery they will have. I laid hands on the sick.
He laid hands on the sick. I told you, he arrogant. He's entitled. He feel like he can do whatever he want to do to people. That what kind of, and people are clapping in the church.
Sound like a bunch of black women clapping in this congregation. To Darren Chamberlain in the chat, God put this here for you and me. Take advantage, for one. Two, if it would have been a black pastor, they would have brought him in with Michael Buffer. It would have been in the champion of the world. It would have went crazy, right? So that's what I was hoping the videos was. I was hoping a black pastor would have been shadow boxing, and they would have been, the deacons would have been around and giving him water. But I don't know what video you saw, and I know you were playing the play. It looked like the other guy walked up on him, and it's really embarrassing for the guy to get beat up by the pastor, right? That's the most embarrassing part, is that he got whooped by a child of God, and he couldn't handle his own. And if it was the other way around, he'd be like, yeah, the devil got him. But no, the pastor put hands on the sick. And the brother might be mentally ill, and hopefully that gets dealt with in the courts, and they let that pastor go like they should have let Carmelo go, because those videos are coming out now too. But I keep seeing Darren Chamberlain in the chat sneak dissing. Holla at your boy.
Oh, he gonna do that. That's what
don't feed it, it won't grow. Leave it alone. Don't feed it, it won't grow.
Why did the derelict say my name?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to Google.
Who you talking about, Darren? Who you put a name on it?
You talking about me?
Oh my God! See, I'm gonna let it go. We'll move on. Let's talk about what's happening with the Haitians and the Supreme Court decision. But one last thing: this is another example of what's wrong with the decay of morality in our society. When you have religious leaders acting like this and people clap to it, we don't stand a chance. So I'll leave it just like that.
Hey, I will say this, Nathan, that laying hands on the sick line, that sounds like something I might have wrote in a column if I was writing about this. So I got to give him props on that. That's a great turn of, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, it's a great turn of phrase. And I got to give that man credit for that.
All right. Let's talk about the Supreme Court. They are now with a recent decision, several big decisions this week. A lot of people talking about this because it's going to impact probably every state, in particular in Ohio and Springfield. But now the Supreme Court has allowed the Trump administration is going to allow the Trump administration to rescind temporary status to hundreds of thousands of Somalians and Haitians. And there's a mixed reception of it. Like, when I look at the comment section where people will probably call themselves MAGA, they're cheering it. They're saying things like temporary is temporary. But Mike DeWine, our governor, said it was a mistake, that it's going to have a negative impact on the state of Ohio. Is this the right move? You agree or disagree with this decision? What do you guys think? How will this impact Ohio? Let's make it local.
Is it?
Well, it's kind of like, go ahead, Damon. I'm gonna let you add this one.
No, so it would be Mike DeWine's fault for not making temporary permanent. He has to have some control over that, and if he doesn't, he doesn't. But Joe Biden gave temporary status, and maybe the temporary didn't have a term or a date on it, but now they've rescinded it. So now instead of ICE just coming in and locking people up, which is what Republicans feel like they want to do, then our government needs to create statuses that aren't temporary. Like in these law fields and in this legislation, words mean things. So temporary has to mean things. Now it's our government's fault for not having a solution further than lock them up or send them back.
I agree with that. What do you think the impact will be? Positive or negative on the state of Ohio or the country in general?
I think it's all flash and mirrors. I think it's all flash and mirrors to distract and to make us have conversations about things that we don't have any place in. The government needs comprehensive immigration reform. And until that happens, everything feels temporary.
Yeah. I think you got to listen to what people in Springfield are saying. And it's kind of like what you see in the comments, right? So if you talk to some people in the city of Springfield, just using them as an example, and I'm sure this is probably true in other cities where you've seen this take place. There are many people who say that Springfield was a city in decline and its economy was in trouble until these Haitians came and they filled a lot of jobs, and they were crediting their presence with kind of bringing back a lot of the city economically that they wouldn't have had without their workforce. And of course, as they're working, they're paying taxes, et cetera, those sorts of things. So there's that side of it. Then there's also the other side of people in Springfield who talk about the inevitable cultural clashes that come from that. People who are used to a different type of culture and haven't quite 100% assimilated with American culture, rules, and the way that things go. And so you have those sorts of clashes in public spaces, which people don't like. And then there's also this conversation about, if we want to blame Mike DeWine about anything, it's about not bringing enough state resources to bear to help Springfield sort of deal with the influx of these Haitian immigrants and some of the stresses that they may have been putting on social services and programs in Springfield, which, you know, to some degree are a little bit undeniable. Whether they're as bad as some say it is, I don't know. That's why I say you really got to listen to the people who are on the ground there. So is there more that DeWine and the state could have done to help with that transition and take some of the burden off of social services? Absolutely. Did these Haitians contribute to that community there and help revitalize a city that was struggling? I don't think that that's much in dispute. But I think we also got to look at, I think a lot of these Haitian immigrants came here, if I'm not mistaken, as a result of, what was it, the hurricane or the earthquake, or what was it that hit Haiti some years ago. And so a lot of them are here on temporary status for that. So I do agree with this notion that if you're that temporary status is exactly that. It's temporary. It's not permanent residency. So if the amount of time that they were granted status here for, and it's good for them. That's the question. Is it good for them to be able to go back to their country now? Are the reasons why they were allowed to come here and stay, has that been resolved, and are conditions good enough back there in Haiti for those folks, for that temporary status to be revoked and for them to go back? I think if that's the case, then you got to stick with what that status is for. If you want people to be here permanently, that's a different process, I think, and a different thing. That's something else that you need to talk about. But if you're here on a particular status and that status is up and the conditions are good for you to go back, then that is what it is. That's how it's set up. You can't argue with that. If you want something different than that, then you got to create and get those folks involved in a different process.
Well, I think, I'm sorry, go ahead, Rosemary.
No, I mean, the Supreme Court decision was made, but at the same time, they still have to figure out a way to implement it. And so what I think like people overlook is every administration went through having to get the Haitians immigration status extended from temporary. Even under Biden and Barack, they had to have it extended, where on several occasions, Congress and everybody was opposed to continuing to extend their status. This administration just pushed back a lot more. I think that Mike DeWine is disappointed with the outcome, definitely, because for those that don't know, he has an agricultural business and has been a longtime partner of Haiti and has his business in Haiti. So I think that a lot of those people contribute to the growth of his business and his pocket. Mm-hmm. So I think that he will be very that he would be very upset if the Haitian population left. In fact, he had a school built in Haiti. And it just closed 2 years ago because of certain conditions, because of that environment. So at the same time, while yes, immigration reform has been talked about for decades on how we need to fix it and change it, whatever, but temporary is temporary. So now that this legislation has come down, or this decision has come down, now it's up to each individual state and to figure out, okay, how will we resolve this? And at what point, it's especially some of these people that have been here for decades, have they used some of those dollars to try to make them their position permanent? And so that's the question that we really should be asking. How long have they been here? Have they tried to even attempt to go through the necessary steps to ensure their permanency here?
Can we all agree that, Phil, what do you think about this? I mean, can we all agree that immigrants who come over here, get jobs, don't commit crimes, that's exactly what we need in this country?
Let me tell you a little bit about, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, can we all agree that immigration is good for this country? Makes us stronger?
Can I talk a little broader about this program? This program, which I think has been in effect for quite a while, is basically to fulfill really what America has always been, which is a sanctuary for those who are oppressed. The people that have come over here through this program from Haiti and Somalia and other places, they first have to demonstrate when they come over to get the TPS that they are facing conditions where they are at risk of genocide, of torture, they have to demonstrate that. And I can assure you that there is no country on earth that is more consistent with that type of situation than Haiti. Okay, it is run. There is no law and order. It is run by gangs who go around beating up people, raping people, basically running the whole thing. Now, the way the program is supposed to work is they are entitled to stay here until conditions change. No conditions in Haiti have changed. In fact, the government does a report on dangerous places, and their current report says it's totally dangerous. It's just as violent, probably worse than when these people came here. Okay, so those are the facts. There's no issue about that. Now, what the Supreme Court said, which I don't necessarily argue with, is the statute says that the administration makes the decision whether they should have to go back and so forth. And I'm not arguing with that, but here's what I will tell you. I will tell you that what the Trump people are doing is as cruel as any action that our government has taken in its history. And the callousness of people, whether they're in the administration or they support it or they don't care, it explains why we have had slavery, why we had the Holocaust, because of people who are willing to just turn their heads away from this kind of horrible thing that these people, by the way, a lot of these people have been here 20, 30 years. These aren't just newly arrived. These are people who have families and jobs. And yet we are in the cruelest fashion, taking these people and sending them back to one of the most violent regions in the world. And if you don't mind, I want to read you one thing. This is from Megan. I want to show you what I mean by callousness. This is what Megyn Kelly said yesterday.
Well, Nathan has the video. Phil.
I got the video.
Yeah,
of what Megyn Kelly said.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we'll play it. You should play it.
Yeah, I'll play it. Give me a second.
It's
yeah,
horrible.
I mean, it's listen, America has never 100% lived up to her promises, especially to its non-whites residents. But it's always at least put up the fig leaf or a veneer that we cared about morality. I think the way that you said that, Phil, is 100% correct. Like, I mean, from a moral standpoint, it's like, who are we? What are we doing? But then from an economic standpoint, I keep saying this over and over again. You got a lot of small business owners, and people just don't understand how connected we are. You cannot.
That is true about the economic impact.
Absolutely.
But even if there wasn't economic impact,
do
this country stand for anything? I want you to show that clip because I think it is a reflection of the same attitude that has allowed genocide throughout history and horrible treatment of people.
But can we just keep it real about what this is with the Trump administration and MAGA and what they're doing? This isn't just about immigration. It's about a certain type of immigrant. It's about black and brown immigrants that are in this country. And there's a consistent thread if you look at through everything that Trump is doing, whether we're talking about what Pete Hegseth is doing with the military, whether it's getting rid of women and people of color in high commanding positions in the military, trying to create this all white male military leadership, to Trump's cabinet in general pretty much being almost all white and people that he has in most of these positions. Look, Trump has made no secret of playing on these sort of racial hot button issues, whether it's getting rid of DEI, critical race theory, immigration that's basically only talking about Haitians, Mexicans, and African immigrants to this country that he wants to target. He's not talking about white immigrant populations or Asians or anything like that that's coming over here. It's all targeted at specific groups. And it's a theme that runs throughout this administration. And, a lot of people will push back on it and they won't like it, but it is a white supremacist agenda that they've been
I don't disagree with that, but I would also say there's a pretty terrible history in this country. There's an excellent, who's the guy who does all the great historical films? Michael, well, anyway, we'll think of his name, who does the American Revolution. He has a thing, it's on the PBS site, of America during the Holocaust. And the fact of the matter is that because of the anti-Semitism in the country and in Congress, they not only refused to open their doors to these refugees fleeing the Nazis, they actually reduced the number of immigrants to keep them from coming. There's no question, and that Burns, I'll think of his first name, did the film. There's no question that we could have saved millions of people. But because of the same attitude that Kevin was talking about with these immigrants, the same hatred, we bear responsibility for many, many lives being lost that we could have saved.
Again, making the economic argument. I mean, there's a very strong economic argument to be made that removing hundreds of thousands of immigrants who are paying taxes in most cases, all cases, into programs they can't even take money out of is going to have a disastrous effect on our economy. So it's almost like putting nails in our own coffin, like small businesses, your Uber drivers, sandwiches, whatever you think of, people are buying that, right? And I just don't understand it. And I just don't have that xenophobic brain where I'm blaming some other group, some immigrant group for the plight that I'm in. I seen a video and it was a white couple and they were, I don't know what it was, but they were making a video and they were talking about some immigrant family that lives in their neighborhood. And then the immigrant family happened to drive by in a nice Cadillac. And they were like, how'd they get that Cadillac? They worked for it. They sacrificed. I mean, I just don't understand. If you're born in this country, then don't you have, and again, it depends on the circumstances, because there's some circumstances you could be born into where it's no advantage whatsoever. But if you're born into this country and you got, a lot of the fundamentals, it's up to you. Like, who's sitting around worrying about what the person across the street has? Who cares about that? I'm worried about what I can build, what I can go out and work for, what I do. And it seems like there's a lot of people out there that have been programmed to now point fingers at the other, and that other is immigrants. And it's like they're not even thinking it all the way through. Like, you're hurting yourself, but we are where we are.
It's fertile political ground to run on, Nathan, because if you think about it, I agree with you. Neither party does a great job of running on this. Like as you think about what is the winning formula if you're Democrats, like, you got to begin to start talking. You got to get off these cultural issues and all of these other things and start talking about economics. Your economic message is what gets it, because you just hit on the same point. Everybody make it. But what politicians have begun to excel at is exactly that, getting you into these cultural arguments about who's to blame for why you don't have what you don't have in this country. And one of the things that plays really well with white voters is being able to say that black folks and immigrants are the reason why, not because of your own work ethic, or not because you don't have opportunities, or not because of corporate greed and all of these other things that aren't the reason why you don't have a job or aren't able to make a living. They can sell that to, when they see an immigrant driving in a Cadillac in their community, to a white constituent, they look at that and they say, this is part of the problem. That is how politicians and the corporate elite use these cultural issues to maintain the economic upper hand, to where they have working class stiffs fighting over crumbs while they eat the majority of the cake. And they have you fighting about that instead of looking at them and saying, no, really, it's like the Elon Musk, the greeds of the Elon Musk and the Jeff Bezos of the world, and some of these other corporate interests that are the reason why you don't have a job. They're the ones who are laying you off, not immigrants, not black folks, because in fact, we're probably the lion's share of those layoffs when it comes down to those corporate type situations where we get hit the worst. And so that is how politics are able to sell that. So I think a strong economic message that talks about the importance of what immigrants bring, not what they take away, because the reality is this: in all of the deportations and everything that Trump has done, it has not had one significant impact on Americans getting more jobs that he claims these immigrants were keeping from Americans. Don't believe me? Go look it up for yourself. There's been no discernible impact on the increase in the number of Americans who are getting jobs through these immigration deportations. And in fact, to Nathan's point, it's only going to get worse, because the main reason a lot of these immigrants were in here working these jobs anyway is because Americans wasn't doing them. They didn't want them. If Americans,
can I say something about Mike DeWine?
If Americans wanted those jobs, why are farmers and all of these other people begging for immigrant labor workforce to come into the country? If Americans are so desperate to work these jobs, they're not.
Can I say something about Mike DeWine, please? First of all, I don't believe he has any economic interest in immigrants one way or the other. To his credit, he and his wife have done a lot of volunteer work, as I think somebody put, a lot of volunteer work in Haiti, and they understand the conditions. But his, what I would call relatively muted comments are too little, way too late. And he's a lame duck too. So I don't give him any credit. He should have been, as soon as all this anti-immigrant stuff started, among other things, abuses, he should have been speaking out strongly, but he just kept quiet, ducked his head because he didn't want to get into it with Trump. He had, as someone who's done work in Haiti, he had a great platform. And I don't mean now, I mean back, even when they were saying they were eating the dogs and all those kind of lies. But he said nothing. He did kind of the same Rob Portman thing, just keep his head down. So even though his comments were correct, they come way, way too late.
Drop writes, America can't save every foreigner suffering in their country from bad leadership. You guys agree, disagree with that? Is that the point? Is he missing the point? What
no,
do you think?
It's not the point. And America is not trying to do that. And everybody is not applying for asylum or trying to come into this country. But I think those that do, those that follow the process, as Phil kind of laid out what this TPS system is, we have an obligation to do that. There's this, the greatest lie that we tell in this country is lack, right? We don't have enough. We don't have this, that, or the other. We got plenty in America. It's just that the plenty is controlled by like 90% of 90% of the wealth is controlled by like less than 10% of the population. That's the problem that we have in this country. Not that there's a scarcity, not that there's a lack. It's just the people who got everything don't want to, quote unquote, share the wealth, right? Or create situations or opportunities where that is plentifully available. But they like to paint this picture of scarcity and that there's not enough room, there's not enough money, there's not enough this or that. That is absolute and utter bull in the richest nation in the country. So I agree, we can't house everybody. But what we are seeing is the biggest lie to say that we can't do what we're doing to help the individuals who are going about things the right way and seeking asylum or help from this country. There's more than enough space in America to deal with that.
So, Rosemary, do you think that immigration is good for this country?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, we're supposed to be like the melting pot or whatnot. But at the same time, I've spoken to people that came over here legally and had to go through that process. And so, you know, what about those people that actually did come over here legally and went through all of the things? The other thing about it is too,
I want to say I don't buy that. I don't buy that, but please finish.
Well, I'm just saying, like, these are people that I've spoken to. So some of those people find
the thing you're leaving out,
and
Rosemary,
I'm not saying that the people that are here, that came here temporary on school visas or whatever, yeah, let's figure out a way to get them.
But I hear that argument all the time. They should get in line. They should do what the people came here legally. But what is not been mentioned is since Trump came to office, they have almost eliminated the ability to come here legally. Okay, it isn't like it used to be,
and that may be a problem in itself.
The only immigrants he's actually allowed in are those white guys.
I mean, under different administrations, including Barack Obama, he sent people back too. So there's always been what they said was an increase or influx in the immigration problem. And I'm just saying, and I agree with what Damon Lynch said earlier. There needs to be an easier process for people to be able to come here that are going through
what you
things.
need to understand is
that
the same people
we can't take care of everybody. We can't move entire countries here because of their leadership. So just like we have to follow laws, if we're not making sure that people, so if you're coming over here illegally, then you're already going against the Constitution and the laws.
Right, just a second.
Can
I get a word in here, Rosemary? Do you mind? Can I get a word in?
I'm not talking about them, but I am talking about those.
Can I get a word in? You've been talking for 5 minutes. Can I get a word in? The fact is, this is the problem. If the problem is that at the same time that the Trump people, are trying to deport all these, and I hear this argument all the time from my kind of evangelical white friends. I hear it all the time. Well, it's not fair to the people who came here legally. You know, they should get in line. Let me repeat again. Since Trump came to office, the only immigrants they've allowed in legally are those white guys from South Africa. So I don't want to hear, with all due respect, this argument. Why don't they just do it legally? The Trump administration, for all practical purposes, has eliminated legal immigration.
I disagree. I just saw a graduation online about a week ago right here in Cincinnati. So I disagree. Some people are still coming through legally, taking those channels. If you walk across the street with an open beer, you're far more likely to get a ticket or whatnot. So again, there are still processes in place. And those that are here, we should definitely try to make sure we shouldn't just be sending them back to places they don't know or don't understand. We should be trying to figure out what do we do and what avenues that we take respectfully, because all Americans, whether they're immigrants or not, if you're here on this land, you deserve respect. But at the same time, we have to also ensure that people are following the law. And that's why we have a justice system. None of us are beyond the justice system. Not even me.
So you're saying all the millions of illegal immigrants here, even if they're law-abiding, haven't committed a crime, they should be deported. Is that what you're saying?
I did not say that. But what I am saying is
they have to follow the law.
You have committed a crime if you came over here illegally.
Well, actually, it's a civil offense. But what I'm trying to understand
from your point of view, it's a crime.
You're saying they shouldn't. You said they have to obey the law. They didn't obey the law. So are you saying, therefore, that they should all be deported?
I'm not saying that they should be deported. What I am saying is they have to follow the law, and what I am
but they didn't follow the law. So tell me what the response is.
Then guess what? There's a consequence to your actions.
So you're saying they should be deported.
Anytime you have to be prepared for those consequences.
You're saying they should be deported.
I did not say they should be deported. I said they should be prepared for their consequence
other than deporting.
And if that consequence is deportation,
put them in jail and make them slaves.
extension, if that consequence is they get the opportunity to stand in front of a board or get their day in court,
But we
then
know
that
what
is
the consequence is. It's
and
not
whatever
if,
that bears,
it's
and that whatever that leads
deportation.
to, sir.
You're saying they need to be
I am
held
not saying
accountable.
that they should all be
They can't break the
deported.
law, and they have to face consequences. And I'm
Those
saying
that
the
break the
only
law should be
consequence that
deported.
is available now is
Those that break the
deportation.
law
So you are in
criminally
effect
Wait.
saying we should deport them all.
So what should we do, Phil?
What should we do? I'll
Yeah.
tell you what we should do. I'll tell you what we should do. Okay. What we should do is I'm totally in agreement with, I think most of us are, people commit crimes or at least anything that has any seriousness, deport them. No problem. But people who have been here, particularly for a period of time, have built lives, families, not to mention the ones that came over here as 7 or 8 year olds, so they had no influence, but they did, as Rosemary said, they're illegal. They came here illegally. I think that we should not deport people who came here as kids and had no control, or people who have been law-abiding citizens. That's what I say. I don't think they should be deported.
But
So
here's
what needs to happen.
Here's one thing I think we can all agree. Here's one thing I think we can all agree on, which hasn't taken place, right? Even in everything that Trump is doing with his deportations, there's still been no conversation at a congressional level about how do we fix immigration, right? So even if you are somebody, who
that's not true, Kevin.
Nathan, I know what you're going to say, that there was already this bipartisan bill what I'm saying is that we have yet to come up with and pass a definitive immigration reform policy, and there seems to be no political will. Nathan, let me finish, bro. Let me get it out. There seems to be no political will on the right side of the aisle. Like they're just content. They're content right now with whatever it is that Donald Trump is doing. And what we need to have is bipartisan work to try to get some comprehensive immigration reform. I'm not talking about what was on the table when Biden was on. I'm talking about what we need to sort out right now to try to fix this problem, and not just rest on what Trump and MAGA are doing with the deportations right now. And I think that is one of the things that, at least not to my satisfaction, that I don't see coming out of Congress.
Right. You know, it needs to be said, and we can't be afraid of the truth and the facts. The facts is that Democrats and Republicans under the Biden administration, they had a framework, and Trump killed it because he wanted to run against it. That's what happened. So there have been conversations. They know what they need to do. But you're also absolutely right. That's exactly what needs to happen. It's not about putting fences on the border. It's about Congress coming up with comprehensive immigration reform. That's what it's all about.
Did we ever?
And until we do that, until immigrants know that there is a clear pathway, and people talk about getting in line, they don't even know where the line is. They don't even know where the line is. So we need a clear pathway to citizenship.
Okay, but in the meantime, what's right is right and wrong is wrong. And you and I know it's if ever, it'd be years before they pass that comprehensive, which I agree they should, but it's years. And right now, people have to take a stand.
They can pass it right now.
You want to deport them?
I agree with. I like what Phil was saying. Though I do agree with what Phil was saying. It's crazy that the ones who have been here for so long or come here as a child and they grew up here and this is all they know is America. They had no say on coming here or not coming here. And now you want to deport them. They've been here since they was, small kids, and now they're adults, but you're deporting them and you send them to a place that know nothing about the culture, don't know anything about them. I'm like, just help them get their citizenship, especially if they can prove that they have been here for so long. I mean, to send them somewhere where they know anything about, I do think that's a little ridiculous. I happen to agree with that portion of what Phil is saying.
Can we also be, because I hear people say this too about people are coming across. Like I think a little context behind how people get into this country also needs to be put there, because a lot of times it gets painted on the right like you just got people willy-nilly coming across the border, unchecked, unvetted. They just jumping the fence or whatever, and they're in America, right? The fact of the matter is that a lot of people, conservatives, like to point to do come across, quote unquote, the right way in terms of seeking asylum. The problem is that the government system that they had set up to deal with these influx of people was inadequate, whether that's immigration judges, whether that's attorneys to help them deal with it, whether it's border control or whatever you want to talk about. The system was inadequate. And a lot of that has to do with federal funding for those sorts of things to make that process easier. So when somebody comes in and and while they're waiting for their asylum claim to be dealt with, you lose track of some people, right? Like, this is one of the things that you say is like, oh, well, a lot of people came in and we don't know where they are. Well, some of that is a function maybe of lack of government funding, maybe a little bit of ineptitude, but it's all a product of not having a system that's set up great and funded properly. So a lot of when you talk about you got these influx of immigrants, it's painted like they're digging tunnels and they're jumping fences and they're just coming through there with no encounter with the government whatsoever. That is a false and fake narrative. Now, there are plenty of opportunities to criticize what that process looked like and how we lose track of people and stuff like that. But let's not present it like you just got floods of people who are coming over here, quote unquote, not the right way, because asylum claims, according to the
did anybody read the New York Times?
The right way.
Did anybody read the New York Times story a few days ago? It was on the Daily, but it was on immigration judges. Okay, these are the ones that decide what Kevin's talking about. Can you stay or leave? Now, here's the thing about immigration judges: they are not appointed they're not like appointed like lifetime judges. They are appointed by the Justice Department. Okay. They are subject to the Justice Department. Now, up until now, I think most presidents pretty much let the system go. But what this story talked about, and they had one of these immigration judges who's on there, is that the Trump administration has basically fired a ton of them and let everybody know that if you rule in favor of the immigrant, we're firing you, we're putting somebody else in. They all know this now. So that whole system is so corrupt. And it's so unfair because what Kevin was talking about, people have a legitimate case. Guess what? They're still not going to win because the immigration judge is subject to the Trump administration. They're going to rule against them.
Because of politics, you got millions of people out there that think that our strength is actually our weakness, our diversity, immigrants who come over here, foreign students who come over here to our universities and decide to stay here and keep that intellectual knowledge, that energy here. That is what makes America great. That's why we have been what we've been. To destroy all of that, to me, is like kicking one of the one of the legs from underneath the country, in my opinion. But here's that video with Megyn Kelly. And I just want to say up front that she does use some extreme language. So if you're at work or you in a sensitive environment, I'm just giving you a heads up. But let me play it for you. I mean, she goes absolutely off. Check this out.
And half of you people, more than half of you, won't assimilate. We don't want you. We don't care if you're offended. Get out. Go home. Go back to fucking Haiti. Sorry. I'm thinking about our friends in Ohio who've been dealing with these TPS Haitians for years now, who are drunk driving all over their towns and killing people. This is the whole cats and dogs thing. Like, they don't want to live like Americans live. And this was supposed to be temporary help. And it's turned into another backdoor way of allowing someone permanent residency here. And they take advantage of all of our public services and our.
That's Megyn Kelly. And you just kind of got a taste of what she had to say. She got a strong opinion about it. And there's a lot of people that agree with her. There's a lot of people that feel the same way. And again, I can understand. Look, Americans have a reason to be upset because the American dream has been denied to them. But it's not because of immigrants, in my opinion. I mean, there are forces at work here, but it ain't the immigrants. You know what I'm saying? That's not the problem here. But there's a lot of people who've been convinced that it is, and it's just a really sad thing. What do you think about Megyn Kelly?
It's an easy, low-hanging thing. I mean, I think Megyn Kelly illustrates the divide that we have in this country. And I think it's an appropriate discussion considering we're coming up on 250 years. because I was going to point to a comment that Ross Freeman had in there. He was like, "Hey man, go to Ukraine and ask for help and see what you get." And my reply to Ross would be, "Well, the United States is not Ukraine. The United States, the way that it's held itself up to be, for the majority of the time of this country has been send us your poor, your sick, your huddled masses." You know what I'm saying? That is what the values and the character that the United States has claimed to represent. Not that we shut our doors to the sick or the persecuted or the tired and huddled immigrant masses. No, the United States, for much of its history, has been a welcoming country. I think where we're at now is you've got attitudes among some people who say we don't think the United States should be that anymore. We don't want the United States to be that anymore. And I think Megyn Kelly's little rant or diatribe is an example of how a decent portion of this country feels about what America should be. That is where we are in this country, is that we're at an inflection point where we are really trying to decide whether, and I think America has always been teetering on this precipice, whether we are actually going to live up to the ideals of what we say, in our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution, the preamble, the Bill of Rights, all of these hailed historic documents that you always learn about in school and politicians like to talk about but never embody, right? This has always been the challenge of America, is are we going to be what we say we are, or are we going to fall back on our baser self-preservatory instincts like what Megyn Kelly talks about there? And I think there are a lot of people in this country now who are saying, yeah, I know what that Constitution and what that Declaration and Bill of Rights and preamble says, but I don't know that I really believe that. And that is the struggle that we are in today. And really, I mean, like I said, Black Americans, we're no stranger to that, because we've been calling for America to live up to those principles and ideas since they brought us here, right? So we're no stranger to trying to force America or call America to live up to what it says it is. But that's always been the battle, is that America has always said and tried to present itself as better than what the people actually are.
Yeah, drop rice. Why did the Biden administration allow 11 million people to enter America? For various reasons. I'm not sure if that number is true, but let's say it's accurate. Well, let's say we got 11 million more people here. Let's say 7-8 million of them are working. They're paying taxes, local taxes. What's wrong with that? They're not committing crimes. They're going to they're going to grocery marts, right? I don't see what the problem is. I know some people get scared when they see that number, 11 million, but I'm like, okay, so what? And so what? Drop. If you let 11 million people in and they're here, they're not committing crimes, they're showing up to their court dates, they're just trying to raise a family, they're buying Pampers and diapers and Cholitos and hamburgers and White Castles. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? I don't understand what the problem is. So what?
But it's what exactly Terrace put in the comments, 11 million more Democratic votes. They can't vote. They can't vote. Terrace knows that. That's more conservative propaganda that you hear time and time again, that again insults people's intelligence. Oh,
why can't they vote?
More immigrants in so that they can vote for Democrats. Oh, they can't vote
because they're not citizens.
Let me walk that through. They can't vote because they're not
citizens.
So how can they work and pay taxes if they're not citizens?
You can work and get, when you work at it, wherever the hell you work, if you're illegal, they take money out of your paycheck just like they do for everybody else.
If you're what?
A non-citizen. I don't like to use the term illegal for various reasons, but I think non-citizens.
I've worked with these people before, and I'm not sure how they do it, but I know once they get caught, then they don't have a job anymore. Not caught, but so I've worked in the Tyson factory with a lot of Hispanic people, and every week somebody would disappear because, like, I don't know, maybe they ran a red light or something and they got deported. Fighting for immigration the way Nathan and you guys are fighting for it, I don't really understand. It doesn't help my life
I thought you were progressive.
I am a progressive.
How can you be a progressive and you're not for immigration?
We have, huh?
How can you be a progressive and you're not for immigration? For
He's
legal
people that's already here.
I am. I'm for legal immigration. I'm for having a comprehensive immigration plan that lets people have a plan to come here. Now, virtual immigration that we have, which is okay, they're here, leave them alone. That you keep saying like it helps. It helps. I don't know how it helps.
That's not what's happening. That's
exactly.
not what's happening. You got people.
David, you're drinking the bad narrative. That's the bad narrative.
That's what I was coming to say. I think you guys are drinking the bad narrative, like, oh, America loves the poor. They love the people. Come to America's shores. That is a false narrative. If you really look at the history, every people that came encountered these things. When the Irish came, they encountered this. When the Germans came, they encountered these same narratives. They outgrew these narratives. They became white, right? And where the Mexicans and the Venezuelans and these South Americans, they won't be able to outgrow these narratives because they aren't white. So they will always be shadow cast in that racial narrative. But America isn't for immigration. America isn't for bringing people over. The reason that
absolutely it is. America is a nation of immigrants. And America is, see, Damon, this is where I say you drinking. I hear what you're saying because you're not too far off.
Well, let me finish then. Let me finish then.
What I just said.
Let me finish.
America is a nation of immigrants. Everybody, unless you are a native person. Unless you are a
hold on, let me finish before you cut me off. Let me finish, and I'll let you do your America the Beautiful speech.
I agree with everything Kevin said. But
America is a nation of capitalists. America is built off slave labor. The reason that America and the federal minimum wage is still $7 is because at any point they will go and look for the lowest common denominator to pay these jobs you say we don't want. Well, no, we don't want them because they don't pay a wage that can sustain you. But they'll bring in more people that, okay, they'll take that wage and these immigrants figure it out the way they figure it out. But that is the reason they keep bringing in immigrants and you say it's not taking jobs. No, there is, I think the Wiz FM is more USP right now. These jobs, they're not paying, so they have to keep bringing in labor that'll accept less and less and less and less and less. So then they bring in 11 million people.
That ain't got nothing to do with immigration. That has everything to do with, as I said, if you listen to the totality of what I'm saying, greedy corporate interests. You know what greedy corporate interests do? They bust up labor unions that try to get Americans decent working conditions, decent wages, all of these things that the labor union has now been villainized for because corporate capitalists, those people that you talk about, don't want to pay livable wages to American workers who are going to demand that. The reason why Americans ain't working
do that by bringing in 11 million immigrants.
I don't like to know what.
Don't they do that by bringing in 11 million people that will work for those wages?
How you gonna respond? I ain't even finished my comment. Let me finish my comment.
You're not making sense. You just proved my point. They're doing that by bringing in people who will work for those wages.
Absolutely.
That's how they bust up the unions. They don't need the union that takes it anymore. They got people that'll work for $11.
It makes absolutely perfect sense what I'm saying to you. If I could ever get a full thought out before I get it interrupted, but the whole thing might make sense. The whole thing might make sense to you. Those same greedy corporate interests who want to break up and kill unions also love exactly to bring in that type of labor that they can get for dirt cheap. It's the same reason why they move businesses out of the United States to Taiwan and these other countries where they don't have the same work. Here's what the immigrant is not your enemy. That's what I'm trying to say. Greedy corporate interests are your enemy. They are the ones who are making sure that you don't have jobs by either shipping them off overseas or busting and destroying unions so you can't get a good livable working wage. And so then when they say, hey, well, Americans don't want to work these jobs, then we need TPS. We need to bring in TPS workers and migrant workers to come in and work in the farms and work in these factories, because Americans aren't going to do it. And you know why Americans aren't going to do it? Because they can't live on the pennies that they want to pay. And they're not paying them. They're not paying them not because they can't pay them. They're not paying them not because they can't pay them. They're paying them because of greed. They want. So
should we not shut off immigration to get a hold of the greed?
Shutting off immigration ain't gonna help that, because Americans still ain't gonna work for that cheap labor.
Right.
Then they will have to raise the wage.
They're not. Damon, they're not.
If nobody will pick the apples for 2 cents an apple, they have to raise the wage.
They're not.
You're saying supply and demand scarcity. I get it.
No, they're not, because you won't force them to. Because you say no, just let everybody in, because that's what we're supposed to do. Because Jesus would.
Economics 101, bro. Go back to economics.
No. You're not making sense. Like Nathan said, supply and demand.
You want to talk about capitalism, so I'm gonna give you an economics lesson. If corporations did for the sake of argument want to raise your wages, how you think they're gonna make that up? They're not just benevolent that, oh, American workers want to make more, so we're gonna pay them more. What corporation have you worked in where that ever has been the case? That, oh, we're just so benevolent. Damon works hard. He deserves more money.
Economics lesson. I was hoping there was gonna be some numbers. If you can keep bringing in a cheap workforce, then you will not do comprehensive immigration reform. Because once you are a U.S. citizen and you're not scared of being deported and you don't need every penny because you are legal and you can get the help that you're supposed to get, you don't go work for Tyson for $11 an hour and hope you don't get deported. Then we can have conversations about workforce. Then we can have conversations about unions, because you don't have a constant influx of poor people coming here that will work.
You know how I know what you're talking about ain't gonna work and it doesn't work is because there has been, I said this earlier in the podcast, they've deported all of these people and there's been no discernible increase in the employment of Americans, because you want to believe this is why I say you keep drinking these bad narratives and you don't understand that these billionaires and millionaires and these corporate interests don't care nothing about you. That's why they lay you off at Christmas. That's why they lay you off at the worst possible times, because they don't care about anything but their own greed. Immigrants are not, that money ain't coming to you.
Let Rosemary get in.
There may not be any kind of impact as far as employment goes, but there is definitely an impact when it comes to housing and it comes to subsidies. And you were talking about cost of living. And the thing about it is, like, we constantly are talking about a way of life, the cost of living, affordable housing, affordable this. At this point, nobody can even tell you what a fair wage is, what a livable wage is, because at a certain point, we're no longer looking at cost of living. We're looking at lifestyle choices. So even if these jobs are paying $7 and $8, there's a choice to you working in those jobs if you want to. So we can't look at 11 million people and say, well, we can afford to give them free healthcare or inundate our hospitals and things like that because they don't have insurance. So we have to look at all of those things, not just jobs. And that's with immigration, that's with our poor. And I'm saying this from a place of, I work in service and serve these people in these environments. So there is a housing crisis that we can attribute to immigration, whether it be employment or not. And there was a crisis years ago. And you're right, it may have not had any impact on jobs, but it's definitely had an impact on the cost of the economy.
How has immigration had an impact on housing?
On housing?
I would venture to say,
a new HUD director, because there's housing systems that are completely filled with those that are illegal immigrants. They may not be able to vote, but they definitely can get housing, because they just reformed that, where now if you don't show citizenship, you can't get income-based housing. And they have been ejecting people from homes right here in Cincinnati. And that's not being talked about.
But Kevin, that should be.
I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. I'm just reviewing facts.
Where do 11 million poor people live?
I had to research all of these things.
Economics 101, Kevin. Where do 11 million poor people get to live?
No, they don't. See this, and again, I think and I don't know what evidence y'all base this off of, because there's no track record that I've ever seen. And I've had this same argument with terrorists. Y'all are of the mindset that, okay, if you just get rid of these immigrants, right, that somehow or another the subsidies that they're getting, or whatever jobs that they're getting, is going to go to Americans. I'm telling you, that ain't what's gonna happen. Because whatever subsidies, whatever government subsidies or whatever they might be getting, you know where that money is going to go if it gets taken away from them. It's not going to go to poor people in Cincinnati or any place else. You know where that's going to go? It's going to go to tax cuts, to Elon Musk and all of those. Rosemary, no offense, but all of the things that the party that you represent, that they like to do.
You should be saying, y'all need to take care of home. Take care of your people first before we move around more
Republicans. It would be great. Rosemary, I would get with what you were saying. I would get with what you were saying if the Republicans ever had a track record of taking care of poor people the way that you on here fighting for. That's why I wish you got the nomination, because maybe you could have brought that. But your party has no track record of doing what you're talking about.
And I believe that we're sitting in it. And a lot of times as Americans, we've even lost sight of the American dream because they don't pay us enough. I'm a business owner, and I think that I pay a reasonable, livable wage. But at the same time, people are like, oh, $18, $20, that ain't enough. So at the same time, you have to also still have a workforce, and you still have to be able to pay what is reasonable based on education and everything else. I think that there are a lot of Americans that's that's looking at, again, their lifestyle, and they're making these demands based on research that says what you need to be making $28 an hour in order to live in Cincinnati. Well, I could have worked my whole career, and I worked at the post office and did never make $28 an hour, but I was able to take care of my entire family and my children. So again, if we're talking about wage, it is also based on your choices and how you live your life.
Yeah, some of that's true, Rosemary, but some of it is not true. I mean, when the average rent...
we start talking about immigration, let's talk about the impact of what's happening with Black Americans. Let's talk about the impact of what's happening in schools. Before I start talking about immigration, I'm going to talk about what's happening at home. Send them back home and make sure they stay home until we get our house in order to let somebody else come in. That's what I'm saying.
I feel like that's an oversimplification, though.
And that has not been
like that's an oversimplification.
So exactly what Rosemary just said illustrates my point about where people are with what they think America ought to be versus what it's always been. She wants to rewrite the narrative of what America should be today versus what America has claimed to be. And I'll admit it's fallen short a lot of times throughout its history of delivering on that. But if you believe in the principles of what America is, then everything that Rosemary just said is the antithesis of that.
But that's why we have a constitution, and that constitution was written in a way that we could reform it based on history, based on time, based on circumstances.
No.
I'll tell you this: the Constitution. That's why we have all these.
I know the Republicans straight constitutionalists, bro. You can't mess with the documents.
Yeah, but the Constitution is meant to be interpreted, and that's why we have. It is meant to be interpreted.
Rosemary, it is not.
We have
Are you sure you Republican? Are you sure you're a Republican, Rosemary? That's why we have a Supreme Court. Hey, let me give you some political advice.
That's why we have a Supreme Court.
Stop talking now if you want to continue to run on a Republican ticket, because that ain't what they believe. Republicans don't believe that the Constitution is a living, breathing document to be interpreted.
But this also shows your blatant typecast of what a Republican is supposed to be.
I'm just saying what the party represents. I'm just saying if you want to win in a primary, you ain't gonna win talking like that.
Well, first off, I already lost my primary, so that means that you're not following elections. I lost my primary May the 5th.
I said if you want to win.
No, but what I'm saying is I've already lost, so my primary is over. So people need to be looking at the congressional race for District 1 because it's actually Eric Conroy against Greg Landsman. And that's one of the problems, too. We can't speak on legislation and justice reform and the Constitution if we can't even determine when an election is and we're not showing up to the polls to vote.
Well, since we're here, I got to ask you. So are you planning on running again?
No.
For elective office?
No.
Never?
No.
Oh. Have you always been a Republican?
I've yeah, I've always been conservative.
Yeah.
For the most part.
But that's not really Republican though, because you could be a conservative Democrat.
And I'm a conservative.
But you're conservative.
That's where we are. And when you run for office at the congressional level, and I've explained this too many times, we have spent too much time sitting in front of the computer playing on our phones, and we completely ignored that it is now a two-party system. So when you run, you choose a side, and that side that you choose is determined most based on your values, based on the premises that you run on. So yes, I am a conservative, and I ran on the Republican ticket.
What was
because
it like?
my values most aligned with the Republican Party.
I get it. I understand. And I said at the beginning, when you were running and people were talking about it, I mean, we need Black people in the Republican Party, and be who you are. I mean, however you feel yourself.
Always.
Right. So, and that's for you and anybody else. But I'm fascinated by this. So what was it like being a Black female running as a Republican in the age of Trump, with all these things that he's doing that Black people are saying are anti-Black, and here you are, a Black woman running as a Republican? What was that like?
So I mean, to be honest, like I got a lot of slack. I didn't really get a lot of slack from the Republican Party itself. I got a lot of slack from people that look like me because of the notion of what the Republican Party stood for, but they're not looking at the entire Republican Party. They're looking at Trump. So it was really hard. It was really difficult for me to run a race and separate myself from MAGA or the alignment, a direct alignment with Trump. You know, I have my own views, and I believed in the American dream from when I was a little kid growing up in Avondale. You know what I mean? White picket fence, all those things. And I reached my personal American dream. And therefore, like I said, running as a Black person was more difficult in trying to ensure that people that look like me understood that I wanted to be at the table to be able to help to change the policies of the party, because there was nobody sitting at that table that understood what it really meant to come from nothing and utilize the Republican conservative values or systems to be able to move forward. And so it was really difficult for me to be able to express that to the Black community without being typecast as a sellout, ain't Tom, or whatever it is that they called me. But they called me that when I was growing up in Avondale. So, that was the most difficult part.
Did you lose friends? Did you lose people around you? People you thought maybe had your back, really? And what did that feel like?
So I mean, but I'm a person that walks in Christ. I live a Christ life too. I'm a pastor. And so everybody's not meant to take that walk with you. A lot of people knew I was running prior to the announcement, and I had sat down and had conversations with them. Most people that are really around me knew my political views. I get in arguments with people all the time. A lot of people just assumed that I was a Democrat because Cincinnati is Democratic, all of the leadership, and because I run a nonprofit where I have to remain bipartisan. It wasn't so difficult losing people around me because I had my family to support me, and those that knew me knew what I stood on and knew my values, and my values did not change, whether I was Rosemary, the CEO, or Rosemary, the Republican candidate for Congress.
Right. Did you worry about it affecting your business?
It did. It did have an impact on the organization that I founded.
Negative or positive, or if you don't just ask?
Both. It was both. It was both.
Okay. Because I wondered, I'm like, man, I know she's doing her thing. Now you're out here in the age of Trump. Yeah,
it was both. But I think it took, what people really didn't understand was it took months before I made the decision to actually run. There was a lot of misconceptions on people that was like, oh, she a sellout. They paid her to do it.
Can I ask you a question, Rosemary?
There's a lot of misconceptions.
Rosemary, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Because, I think the point that Nathan was talking about was, is it difficult to run as a Black Republican? I would respectfully say, and I'll get to my question, that it's not hard, because look at Tim Scott and Byron Donalds and the others.
I'm out of here.
Let me just finish here. Let me finish.
You can't speak.
No. Can you guys let me finish my question? Because I ran twice in a Republican primary as an anti-MAGA Republican, okay? Which I would suggest is much greater challenge. But my question to you, Rosemary, is when you ran, did you strongly speak out against Donald Trump and the MAGA movement? Yes or no?
When I ran, I ran on my policies.
No. Did you speak out against Donald Trump?
I didn't have to.
Oh yeah,
I did let people know that I was not mad.
You did have to. If you're a person,
no, I did not.
You did have to.
Sir, I did not. And the reason I didn't have to. No. Let me finish. First off, when the president did things that did not align with my values, like the monkey comments and those things, I very much use my platform to speak up against the lack of professionalism of the position. But as a person running, I understand that Trump is in a position for 4 years. It is no different than having a bad boss at times. I was too busy running on what I was going to do. And that's what the people that are running right now need to focus on.
Yeah, what you should have been running on is standing up to Donald Trump. That's what
I didn't have to run on that because I first had to identify what I was going to do for the people of Congressional District 1. The Democratic Party, that is their biggest flaw. That is the Democratic Party's biggest flaw. You are too busy running on President Trump and not running on what you're going to do for the people. If my entire playbook was I'm against Trump, then how would that have got me elected?
Against the things he's doing. Against the things he's doing.
I had a bigger premise, and that premise was being the voice of the people that I serve.
I read your editorial and let me say something. I read your editorial. With all due respect, I read your editorial in the Inquirer when you ran. With all due respect, everything in there was stuff like justice for everyone, prosecute criminals. It was general stuff that everybody agrees with. And with all due respect, what we need are Republicans who want to stand up and say oppose these horrible immigration policies, oppose the attacks on the rule of law, oppose the prosecution of people because Trump demands it. And with all due respect, far as I could tell reading that, you had a lot of generalities, but not many specifics.
Hold on,
but my platform works for children, and my platform were for people that look like me, and those that are hurting in the community. They were for the at-risk, and it wasn't specifically a party. It was for a people that are underserved. So that is a different platform that I went to.
I didn't see that in your editorial.
Then perhaps you didn't read my website because I had one of the most detailed websites of all of the candidates.
What was your position on immigration?
What was your
position on immigration?
My position on immigration was that those criminals that are illegal need to be deported first, but there also needed to be respect in the way the immigration policies were being put forth. They should not just be demanding IDs and things such as that. So I had a very detailed policy that you are more than happy to read because my website is still up at votemissrosemary.com.
Yeah, Phil.
I would say
yeah,
too, it's not necessarily fair to expect the lady to put her whole campaign, condense her whole campaign into 2 minutes here on Hot Mic. I mean, here's what I will say about all of that. And Rosemary, much respect to you in the things that you've done even before your political run in Cincinnati and for running. I'm not against Black people running as Republicans. My argument with that is always this, and it's kind of the same thing that I said, kind of when we were going back and forth and just challenging. Your heart may be in the right place, but your heart for the party that you are a part of is not a formula for success and winning. And all of the Black Republicans who have won that were named here are regarded as sellouts because that's exactly what they had to do to get to where they are. Look, you're talking about a party that is majority white, majority male and female white, and they don't relate to nor particularly care about many of the plights and interests that affect Black people. And so while Black people are like, yeah, we want to run into this party and bring our points of view to the table and all of that, that's very difficult for you to be your authentic self and win. That's why I kind of jokingly said to you, yeah, you ain't sounding like a Republican because your party doesn't believe in the things that you believe in.
But that's not
and it's tough, and it's tough for you to win, particularly. I mean, to Phil's point, it's a no-win. She could have come out and said that she was against Donald Trump. That wasn't going to help her. That's a losing formula in today's Republican Party and when you're trying to get out of a primary. So anybody who's serious about trying to win, that's a poison pill right now.
Well, first off, I was the first Black person to even throw their name in a hat. I was the first woman to throw their name in a hat.
Damon.
Prior to doing this, I talked to your Charlie Winburn. I talked to your Kim Blackwell. So please don't get it twisted. I did my research before I threw my name in the hat. But at the same time, there was a bigger picture. And that picture is this. I wanted to run and represent myself and the values that I base my life and my success. And so therefore, yes, I was on a Republican ticket where there were times when I walked in rooms, people didn't necessarily understand me. But when I walked out, they knew what I aligned with. And there were people that voted for me and contributed to my campaign. And all you can do for people that are conservative, hiding in the background that might be Black, is to stand up, take those positions, and be in the forefront, even if it lands you in big trouble in the media and the news and lands you behind bars. It was not easy for me to continue to run in this environment. But at the same time, I would, if necessary, when God called me to do it, I did. I have no regrets. And now I continue to push policy forward. And I am very proud of the race that I ran as Miss Rosemary.
I get it. But one more question. Were you open to, or would you have sought Trump's nomination, like for his endorsement? Were you open to that? Were you trying to get his endorsement? Had you won the primary, would you have sought out his endorsement?
So the thing is, when I first started running, I had a team, and that's what people don't understand. I had a team that were like, you need to change how you dress. There's a lot that goes into running for Congress.
Tell us all the details, like change how you dress how?
There's a lot that goes into it. I think that I'm pretty fashionable, but there's a lot that goes into it with what you look like, your social media, how you carry yourself, your family's looked into. There's a lot of things, because there's a lot of things that will come out and they'll pull out. So I was, I had my campaign, for example, my campaign chair, she was like, you need to wear pearl earrings. I'm not no pearl earring wearing. So I get the need to want to look like the part. You want to have a Trump flag and you want to have this. Well, at the same time, I'm not saying that I'm against any of the I'm not for every policy that this administration puts out. But at the same time, I wanted to run as me. But there's a lot that goes into it. And what are your beliefs as it comes to gun control or immigration or abortion? So all of these things have to be worked out before you ever launch your campaign. And that's why I said it was a very slow move, and it was months before it actually got put out there publicly that I was running.
But my question was about endorsements. Were you trying to seek Trump's endorsement?
No, I was trying to seek just people. And because at the end of the day, a Trump endorsement, Eric Conroy got the Trump endorsement, but that didn't help him relate to the people. I was going to the people.
He won the Republican primary, though.
Vote.
Yeah, the Trump endorsement would have won you the Republican primary.
He won the primary. He won the primary because he spent $700,000. And he sent out 10 mailers, and the people on the Republican side
that endorsement helps.
Supposed to vote. I don't believe that the endorsement helped him at all. The endorsement got people to remove themselves from running. So for example, the dentist stepped down from running when he was endorsed. I was asked to step down, but I chose to continue to run, win or lose. I was already out there, and the bigger picture was who was looking at me, and that was my kids. You don't turn away just because they got this. At the end of the day, I was already in the background. I'm Black. I raised less than anybody. I already had every barrier against me, but the point was to finish. So it wouldn't have mattered. It didn't matter about the endorsement. And no, I wasn't going for the endorsement. You don't just get in front of me.
Brother Phil, when you did your because you interviewed Eric Conroy, did that ever come out? And by the way, can I go watch it? And did you ask the same questions of him that you just asked of Rose?
Episode.
Oh, believe me. First of all, Taris just said I should have Eric Conroy on my I did. Excuse me. I did a lengthy interview with him, and I grilled him as hard as anybody could grill somebody. What I've said to Rosemary, excuse me, let me finish. I asked him about, I pushed him on every Trump corruption. I pressed him on the undermining democracy. I hit him all the way. And let me tell you something. When he left, it was pretty clear to me that he wasn't coming on any interview with me after that. Okay. He was not a happy camper because he thought, since I'm a Republican, I'm going to just throw him some nice little bones. But and by the way, yesterday on my podcast, I interviewed a good friend of mine, wonderful guy, Mike Allen, and he's a great guy, but he's a Trumper. And I can, if you want to check it out when it goes up, believe me, I went after him in a respectful way, just as I did with Conroy. Because I believe anybody, I believe anybody who is a pro-Trumper, and believe me, it's hard to get them to come, at least on my podcast, because they only want to show up, okay, where they're going to get softball questions. They don't want to go be interviewed. I'm sure Kevin, they don't want to be interviewed by people who are going to ask tough questions, and that's really unfortunate. But I'll make an invitation right now. Any pro-Trump person, I don't even care if they're a candidate, I want to interview you because I think there's a lot of tough questions that you need to answer.
Who did you vote for in the
ask tough questions these days because it often gets couched as bias or attacking. You know, if you ask tough questions, gone are the days of where you could ask tough questions regardless of what party an individual is involved in. I mean, Trump has so politicized and alienated people from the media that any attempts to ask tough questions. I mean, you see how they treat people in these White House press conferences. You ask a perfectly legitimate question, and it's like you're the worst reporter on the. But
the good ones still keep asking.
That's how conservative politics moves these days. Did you see J.D. Vance is even trying to couch it now that Herbert Hoover and Richard Nixon were victims of liberal, biased, left-wing media and all of it. Now think about this. We know historically this is what they do. This is what Trump and MAGA are trying to do in terms of rewriting history. Like they're even trying to rewrite it so Nixon is like some kind of victim of left-wing media bias. The dude who was impeached over Watergate, whose own Republican Party asked him to step down. Somehow he's a victim of the liberals and the media. Come on, man. People need to wake up and open their eyes to what these clowns are doing. And Rosemary, that's why the question that Phil asked, and I get it. I understand. I know what the politics are. And I know why legitimate candidates like you and others who don't really believe in or get behind what MAGA is all about can't say anything. Because if you're serious about trying to win, I said that's a poison pill. And you're going to get the reason they don't do interview, and not that Rosemary didn't, but I'm saying legit, like Conroy and some of these others, why they won't venture into those waters, because they know if they have to answer those questions about Trump, that's a poison pill with him in the base. So they duck it. They're not going to sit there and take those tough questions. No offense, Rosemary, but as you said yourself, you were coming from the back, right? Nobody expected you to win. If you had won, it would have been a great shot within that Republican primary circle. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way to you. I'm just saying what the real is. Now, I know you didn't see it that way, but anybody handicapping that race would have said it turned out exactly the way it is. That you might not agree with.
Did you guys see the Christian Welker interview where Trump walked out about a week ago? She asked tough questions, and he was such a coward. He got up and walked out of the interview.
Yeah, well, I watched the whole interview, and he answered a lot of them. But neither here nor there. I think that within both parties, we're so focused on MAGA. There are a lot of people within that party, within the Republican Party, that are still just conservative and don't necessarily agree or align with every aspect of what this administration is doing. And
but those are lack of courage to stand on it and speak up on what they believe. But the thing is,
where are you wanting them to stand, and where are you wanting them to stand?
I mean, look, stand up on corruption. What are you saying about Donald Trump enriching himself and his friends? Where are you at on all of these different things when you thought there was even a whiff of Hunter Biden doing this, people were standing on the table stomping.
And but Trump is raping
and profiting, and nobody is saying anything.
I do think that it's not daylighted or put in the media as much as it should be. But at the same time, like, who controls that media or whatever, it is very difficult to run in a very polarizing election. I'm sure Damon Lynch said the same thing. This election is very polarizing.
Right. Especially
and it doesn't matter if you have your own views, your own whatever. And, I've met Eric Conroy, and,
what do you think about
what it is.
I
think as a person, I'm
talking about as a potential representative in the first congressional district.
I think he has a lot to learn about the district, and that he is very new to the district, and that he needs to spend more time in Hamilton County getting to know the people of Hamilton County.
That's fair. I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to answer those questions. I saw an opportunity. I'm always trying to
and it's fine.
And bring some perspective. I will say, and I say it again, I went to the RNC back in 2017, and what I realized looking back now is that they thought I was a Republican. Man, they treated me good. It was great. They were schmoozing me and taking me out and paying for my dinner, paying for my breakfast. And I couldn't understand it at the time. When I look back, I'm like, oh, they thought I was a Black Republican.
Yeah, and again, like, I didn't really experience any. Now, what they say when I walk out of rooms, but I don't really care about that. I think if you look for racism, you'll find it. If you look for certain things, you'll find it. When I was in those rooms, I didn't experience any racial divide, any, people that didn't want to shake my hand. And they had changed the district to, Hamilton County all the way to Clinton County. And in Clinton County, it's 98% white out there. And I was out there door knocking. And there was a lot of time, in most rooms that I was in, I was the sole Black person in those rooms. So again, it wasn't about uncomfortability. It was about I knew who I was, and I knew why I was there and what message I wanted to get across. And so leaving the campaign now and not being a party to it, I am still working on other people's campaigns. Again, my whole premise was to voice certain policies that could help more people that are underserved, and trying to help them understand you can tweak this policy just a little bit and it'll help more people, so that you don't look and you don't hurt as many people, and you don't look as racially challenged and as racist and things such as that. And those are the things that when I walked in those rooms. And that's why oftentimes when I spoke in those rooms, I would live stream and things like that. I'm the same Rosemary behind those doors with all those people that didn't look like me that I am publicly. And I stand on that. And that's why I'm not ashamed to say that I ran as a Republican in this highly politicized and polarizing environment. And I even spoke with Greg Landsman and all of the people that were involved. And that's something that's you don't normally see either. I was cool with all of the people that were running, even in the box up at the Board of Elections, where they're normally really divided up there. They're arguing. And I'm just not a person about division. I can see a line within anything. And I think that's the person that should have been voted in that seat. And ultimately, I ran because I didn't think that Greg was qualified to run in this environment under this administration. And that's why I ran. But Conroy won. I do hope that he spends more time in Hamilton County and gets to.
Are you endorsed? Are you supporting him?
I'm supporting Rosemary and focused on my nonprofit organization.
Who are you going to vote for? Who are you
going to vote for?
I'll tell you exactly. I'm going to vote for Lands. I'm going to tell you. Why don't you let me answer the question? I'm going to vote for Landsman. I'm going to vote for Amy Acton. What else do we have? I'm going to vote against people who are MAGA election deniers across the board. I'm asking you. You ought to be able to say, are you going to vote for Ramaswamy? Are you going to vote for Conroy? Well, who else? I do like Vivek Ramaswamy. I do support Vivek Ramaswamy. I've had some very great conversations with Vivek Ramaswamy. He's actually supposed to be coming to my facility so that we can have some more in-depth conversations about teenage parenting and pregnancy and overcoming barriers. Again, I talk from different levels because I came from a different environment. And to go back to, I ran this way, you can never say that you ran anything like me or even speak for how I ran or what it felt like to be in those rooms to run as a Black Republican, because all in all, I don't care. You're not Black. So you'll never understand what it's like.
And you will never understand the barrier to even announce and see your city who normally supports you turn on you until you turn those views back the other way.
Yeah, Phil, you don't understand.
You know, I actually think that in many ways, although decreasingly so, it's easier to run as a Black Republican at the local level and win than it is at these state and national levels. And again, I said, you know, I applaud Rosemary for her heart, staying who she is behind the scenes, but just knowing it for me, it's not so much that white folks will shake your hand in a meeting, be nice to you, and give you respect when you're speaking. To me, it's more about what they do with what you're bringing to the table and how they handle your feelings and your issues. And as I've said, I'm open to any Black Republican, you, Terrace, or anybody else. If you can point to in recent history, I'm not talking about going back to Reconstruction and slavery and the Emancipation Proclamation. I'm talking about in our lifetimes that the Republican Party has done that has advanced Black people's issues and causes. I'm open to listening to that. But the track record of the Republican Party has not been that. And Vanita said something in the comments that I will agree with. And I've said this to Nathan recently. I said that I believe that Black people primarily are at heart conservative. I think we are. I think in general, Black people are more conservative than they are super progressive. I believe that. The shame of it is that the Republican Party offers nothing to Black people who have those sorts of sensibilities.
So what does the Democratic Party offer?
Well, I mean, look, let's just face it.
Protection of civil rights.
If we doing a scorecard of policies and things that have helped Black people out since the civil rights movement to modern day, there's no comparison. I hate when Black people say that. Like, what have the Democratic Party done for you? And the fact of the matter is that a lot of Black people are standing on the shoulders of policy that wouldn't have had jobs or opportunities that they got if not for Democratic policy, which, by the way, Trump and the Republicans want to get rid of, right? Voting rights, DEI policies, and all of these things that don't give you anything but force the powers that be to even give you a look, right? To even consider you, to put you in the process. How many rooms you wouldn't have had access to without those policies? So to me, it's kind of ignorant when Black people make that statement.
Well, I think I'm
one who has always said, have we gotten 100% return on investment for what we put into the Democratic Party? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But we have at least gotten some return on the investment. Republicans always come back with that. That is not an answer to the question that I just asked. The answer to the question about what have Republicans done for Black people is not, well, what has Democrats done? That's not an answer to that question. And it's the answer Black Republicans always give. I can only assume because you don't have an answer as to what Republicans have done.
Well, again, like I said, I ran on a Republican ticket based on my values. And those values are Christian based. Those values are believing in the American dream. And whether they say that's the old republic or whatever that is, that's where my values aligned. And that's why I ran. So because in this point in time, I really couldn't find anything. If I'd have ran as a Democrat, y'all would have been like, she don't say nothing to sound Democratic. So at the same time, but there's no independent anymore. And we need to get back to that, if not anything else. And so again, I mean, if you can, I vote based on the person, and based on their policies and their politics as well. So again, that's why all of these elections are vitally important. Black people aren't showing up in the primaries to vote. We need to push so many different things. And that's what I learned in running. Like we're talking about, they're suppressing our voting rights, but how many Black people showed up to actually vote in the primary? I was there with Damon Lynch when he didn't win. You had enough Democratic Black people that could have voted him in order to win. I wasn't even disappointed in my race. I was just happy I didn't get, 90 votes and that was it, but there's so many different things. So we can't even begin to talk about voter suppression if we don't talk about getting to the polls first to vote in your primaries so that we can choose those front runners that we don't agree with. Vivek Ramaswamy may have not been your front runner if more people would have gotten out to vote for those other individual people. And even with Phil, you're saying, oh, the people to speak up against whatever. Okay, Thomas Massey was one of those people that spoke up. But how many people got to the polls to vote for him?
Yeah, he lost. You're right. You're right. He lost.
Younger people.
He lost.
You're
exactly right. Yeah, you're exactly right. He lost because he stood up for what was right.
Younger people went with Massey. Older people, older voters that get mailers voted for Trump.
Well, what does that
we got to get more people to the polls. We can't talk about voter suppression. Yeah, there might be voter suppression, but let's talk about how do we get these people to get the identification and the things that they need to get there to vote. There's not a barrier that you can put in front of me if I want to get to that goal. You can't suppress my vote.
I don't understand your point, Matt Massey. I don't understand your point.
I'm just a person that's tired of excuses. You know what I mean? Like you say, oh, it's so open-ended and you didn't say this. Well, come up with a solution. Because, you know,
I'm confused. I'm confused.
After you lost, did you run again? Are you at the White House speaking against Trump? Have you started a PAC to pay and endorse a person?
So you're saying I haven't done. You're saying I haven't done enough.
Have you started a PAC to be able to support a candidate financially? Have you had events to be able to support a candidate that can speak up for the things, the foundational values that you stand for? Or are you going to continue to run every time to make sure that those premises get put into place?
Whoa.
I'm asking you.
I've run for office 4, 6, at least 8 times.
How many times have you won? Because I'm sorry, I haven't heard of it.
I won everyone. I won 4 city councils, 2. I won, I think, every one except 1. 2 I won. But I don't see what the point is. What your point is.
You keep fighting and you keep speaking up for what you want to speak up for instead of pointing the finger at other people with an expectation of what they're supposed to do. Because again, we'll never see it on the same level. And I can't get in the same room as you because I don't walk in there white. I have to walk in there with it very different.
Yeah, I understand you're patting yourself. No, I understand. Let me finish. I understand. I got to jump off, but I understand you're patting yourself on the back for running as a Black Republican. You've done it over and over.
Well, no, I ran as a conservative.
I will also say,
not a Black Republican, as a conservative.
Could you let me finish? Just let me finish, then you can talk. I will say this, and I'm not here patting myself on the back, but the fact of the matter is in the district I last ran in, which is the 2nd district, which is like about the reddest in Ohio. Okay, I went to every one of those outridge, all those counties all over, and they were 100% MAGA. And I stood up at the candidates night in front of everyone, and I said, Donald Trump is not a true Republican. Okay, he won't stand up for democracy. He won't. He wants tariffs. I spoke out and I talked about how he incited that attack on the Capitol and how he's pardoning all those. In every one of those rooms, I stood up and said that, and there was hardly one person in any of those rooms that agreed with me. So I'm not here bragging or patting myself on the back. I'm just saying, with all due respect, don't throw the, oh, I went through this and you didn't go through it.
No, all I'm saying is keep fighting your fight, and I'll continue to fight mine. And you can't speak on what I went through because I can't speak on what you went through as a white male walking in white rooms talking to your white counterpart.
Yeah, as a white male speaking out against the
Trump doesn't matter. You're still a white male.
Hundreds of people
and you're still invited. And you're still invited to their cookout.
You're not?
Oh, I am now. But I had to lead with what
I don't know what you mean invited their cookout, but I gotta go.
All right, Phil, we gotta go. Hey, Rosemary, I hope that you come back on the show. I love the energy. I love it. So I'll be reaching out.
Rosemary, this is how we mix it up on Hot Mic. Like we say all the time, this is good. It's good discussion, debate. It's nothing. It's nothing personal. We get after each other all the time on different topics. I appreciate, like Nathan said, you coming in telling your truth and telling your story. And, you know, people on here got different politics. They have different beliefs. And I appreciate and respect the fact that you stand, 10 toes down on where you are. And that's what this is about. This is about offering perspective so that people can take from it what makes sense to them and what helps them think a little bit deeper about things. Nathan, I do want to address one of the comments because I never like to leave anything in the chat unaddressed. because somebody made the comment about, you know, when I was talking about what Democrats have done, I made this statement about not going back to the civil rights movement and Reconstruction for Republican things. And so when I brought up things like civil rights and affirmative action, they was like, well, you went back there with that. Okay, so let me give you some more modern things that Democrats have actually done that have benefited Black people. During Obama, they provided 1 million forgivable loans of up to $200 or up to $20,000 for Black entrepreneurs. They launched the National Health Equity Initiative that was focused specifically on Black men. They legalized recreational marijuana and addressed barriers and opportunities for Black people to get into that industry. We're not going to talk about what he did to decrease inflation, save the economy and the auto industry, which probably saved a number, you know, of Black people's jobs. They provided down payment assistance for first-time Black home buyers and lowered rent. All right. They provided $13 billion in loans for underserved markets. Right. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I could continue to go down a list of modern things that Democrats have done for Black people. As I said, most people who talk that stuff ain't done their research. They don't know. And I will say this, part of the problem is that there are things that are available that are out there for Black people, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a first-time home buyer, or whatever, that maybe people don't know about or not taking access to it. And maybe it's not publicly advertised enough to the point where Black people even know what's available to them. Oh, the money Obama and them gave the HBCUs as well. And Biden did as well in under his initiative. So there are countless things that you can point to that Democrats have done that have benefited for Black people. We're not even going to get into, you know, areas of criminal justice reform and other things that they've fought for that have helped Black people. You know, you had a lot of consent decrees for those of you who care about how policing is done. Ain't none of that occurring under the Trump presidency or Republican presidencies. In fact, they got rid of most of those things. So for Black people who want to sit back and talk about Democrats ain't done nothing and I'm going to vote Republican, again, go do your research. Quit listening to Nick Cannon and some of these other cats out here who got more money than you'll probably ever have in your lifetime, trying to tell you about they ain't got to worry about voting because they already got it. You trying to get yours. So educate yourself, do your homework, and quit drinking the bad political Kool-Aid and narratives. Base your opinions on facts, not what you heard. I say the same thing from the pulpit. Don't just take what I preach to you on Sunday. Go read your own Bible for yourself. Study to show thyself approved. I just wanted to leave it there, brother.
Great point. Somebody said he didn't really like the panel. I get it. Every panel may not be for everybody. I get it. Maybe make some suggestions. We always look at, it was Chris. Said the panel is whack. Hey, you're welcome to your opinion, Chad. Not Chris, Chad. And hopefully we'll see you next week. We go live on Tuesdays and Fridays. Approximately 1:15. We do a PM. We do a little pre-show. Sorry about my voice. I don't know what I'm dealing with right now. But yeah, I mean, that's totally fair, Chad. I mean, but hopefully we can do a panel in the future. And we're always thinking about different mixtures that you will like. And maybe hopefully you'll come back and check us out because I love seeing you in the chat. So, and to anybody else, you got a question? I mean, if you're like, man, I wish they had such and such on, or maybe they can do it this way, hit me up. Hit me up. We'll consider it. Chop it up if it works. We'll try it. I mean, we got thick skin. We've heard it all. So I don't take what you're saying as a diss in any way. I just feel like you're an audience member and you're sharing your opinion. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. But with that, I think I found horrible, Kevin. So I'm going to go ahead and shut it down, man. And we'll catch back up on Tuesday. And everybody have a great weekend. And
great weekend.
We'll see you soon. Tuesday at 1:15 p.m. Take care of yourself.